And we're live.
Hello, and everyone. Welcome to the Warhammer Meta Chasers. This is your weekly tournament hype show where we talk about the biggest and best tournaments coming up over the weekend. My name is Paul. I'm joined by the mogul Dustin Henshaw.
Hello, everybody.
And Adam Camilleri.
Hello. I don't have a title
Just
yet.
some guy.
Earned it.
Just some guy.
You have
some random dude.
rejected everything I've ever thrown your way is like some type of honorific.
Fair.
We'll find one. Feel free to suggest some in the comments. I mean, look, the man is always working. One of the hardest working people in Warhammer.
It's true.
There are a couple that work harder. You have a hell of a week. Next week, Paul, you're going to be working harder than all of us put together. You got 2 cons back to freaking back, one of which being Nova.
Nova and Dragon Con, and then this show, our other shows. You know, look, I never get tired of talking about Warhammer, and thankfully, you know, some folks like to hang out and do this. This is a live show. We do this live each and every Thursday evening from about 9 p.m. Eastern to about an hour from now. Some folks, if you're listening to this after the fact on some of the podcast aggregators or on YouTube, know that we do this live and we have a great chat community. And it's great to see some folks hanging out with us right now. Welcome to the show. Welcome to y'all show listening later. We have 3 great events to talk about, a couple of lists to talk about in each one of them. But before we do that, let's talk about where's War Games Live. Where is Joe hanging out this weekend? I think one of the ones we're going to be talking about, Wasteland Wars.
Yeah, he's hanging out at Wasteland Wars, which is in Lubbock, Texas, which is kind of in the deserty bit between New Mexico and the bit where it doesn't get deserty in Texas. I don't know, to the right of Texas.
Is there? Yeah, okay.
Eastern Texas seems to be the greenish bit. Western Texas, as you get closer towards, I guess, the California border, it just gets more. And New Mexico, Albuquerque, all that.
You're trying to figure it out, and I don't know if the camera's flipping it or if you're trying to figure
it
out of being the other side of the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am down under. It's true. We also have an event shout out, and this is a very interesting thing to unpack. Some may see geographical privilege here, or some may see this is a budding scene that has been giving a chance to step onto the world stage. But the 40k Korean World Qualifier, which I believe has a golden ticket attached to the end of it, is being held this weekend in Incheon, which is in the greater Seoul area in South Korea. Guess how many players and how many rounds to get a golden ticket in Korea?
Wow. Okay, let's hear it.
9 players, 3 rounds can get you a golden ticket in Korea.
Wow. So that is 9 players, 3 rounds. That's the greater Seoul area in South Korea that's coming up this weekend. It may already be the weekend, by the way, if you're hearing this. So, but check it out if you're in the area. Get some folks, you know,
they're pretty futuristic, are they? In the future?
No, it's Thursday. It's your Friday, isn't it?
It's my Friday. Yeah, it's correct.
And aren't you in the same
parallel? Yeah, I could be in the same parallel. That is right.
Yeah. Wait. So you're both in the future then?
I know. And he's looking at me like I might not be right. You know. So.
No, Paul's always right. We just like to give him flack before we admit it.
No, I was going to say with geography, it's good to be skeptical.
Yes. No. That's true. That's true.
But that's actually awesome that Warhammer is happening over there in South Korea. If you are happen to be playing in that event, hit me up on Twitter, send me some pictures, hit us up on Instagram, or leave some comments in the YouTube channel to let us know how it went, because I'm really curious.
I love the idea of it, of all these people exhausted rocking up to Atlanta being like, man, I had to win a 9-round, beat Eldari 4 times to get here, and just gentlemen from Korea is just like, plebs.
Yeah.
3 rounds. It was done by lunchtime.
Yeah, I ran through Voten, I beat Admech and Death Guard, man. It was rough.
I think it's awesome. Just win first, baby. Let's go.
Any of those competitors, you don't know when you're playing against someone that's just a, absolute, just beast at the game. So you could have your hardest game ever in a game store. It's I fully believe that some of the best Warhammer players are not even on the scene yet. They're waiting
Correct.
to get there, and maybe this is the launch pad to get them there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's awesome.
100%. There's someone playing in a garage somewhere over there, that could end up being the next world champ and just hasn't had a chance to step onto the world stage yet.
Seriously, he was like an ex-StarCraft pro, but can't do it because his wrist's just kind of hurting too much now. But now he's into Warhammer, and it's over. It's over once he joins the scene.
I love
can't
that.
Wait. Speaking of the finale, where the World Championships of Warhammer are going to be happening in November in Atlanta, Georgia, like right there, like right over there.
Right there.
It's gonna be
literally.
amazing.
Nuts.
It's good people from all over the world coming to play. It's also the Grand Narrative event, so maybe check it out even if you're not playing on the competitive side of things. There are lots of other things to do. You don't want to miss it, but more to come on that, especially as we lead up to it. Let's talk about the events we have coming up this weekend. The one that we were talking about there in Lubbock, Texas. This is the Wasteland Wars, 48 players, 5-round event. What are we going to see there, Dustin?
For the Imperial Super faction, there's going to be 8 Custodes, 1 Grey Knight, and 2 Imperial Knights. Space Marines, there's 3 Space Marines, 1 Dark Angel, 1 Space Wolf, 2 Blood Angels, 1 Death Watch, and 1 Black Templar. Chaos, there's 2 Chaos Space Marines, 2 T-Suns, 2 World Eaters, 2 Demons, and 1 Chaos Knight. Xenos, there's 4 Necrons, 1 Orc, 2 Tau, 1 Votan. Hive Mind, there's 3 Tyranids and 1 Genius, they're called. Eldari, there's only 3 Eldari, which means the faction podium is Custodes topping off with 8. Necrons is second with 4, and then Eldari, Nids, and Space Marines in third with 3. This spread is awesome.
It is real.
Wow,
good.
interesting.
I'm a fan. Whatever they're doing down there, whatever's in the water, continue drinking it. It's working.
Yeah. In fact, you know what? Spike our water supply with it too. Like this is a great. Great.
What do you
meta.
think is going on there? Do you think there's kind of like a collective, like, hey, let's let's just be a little nicer this weekend?
Yeah, let's just be a little bit reasonable.
And the 3 people didn't get the memo?
Either that, or everyone's already lent out their Eldar last weekend and are still waiting to get it back. So,
look, we're here to talk about what is the meta and how to beat the meta and maybe what to be the meta or how to challenge it, kind of thing. And Eldari are very strong right now, and that's what we're talking about. We would typically see a higher percentage of them at events, and that's no slight on the players either. I think when you're going to a competitive event, obviously you want, if your idea is to win a bunch of games or maybe win more games than you lose, you want to bring what you're going to give you the best shot at doing that. And so people that bring Eldari could be great.
Agreed. Never going to slight anybody for taking the best thing in the game if they have a desire to win a singles event. You do whatever is your modus operandi. We don't really know here to throw any shade or any whatnots. But we will look at a faction podium and poke fun. That's exactly right. We will.
but then also on the other side of that is that once the meta is defined, I mean, think about it. We just came from an edition where the meta was defined, and that allowed some people to, play in some gaps and figure out some strategies to overcome that. Do you think that maybe that might be what's happening here in Lubbock?
What do you reckon, Dustin?
Maybe. Do we know if there's any special terrain rules or anything? Is it using G-Dub's terrain, or is it...
No clue.
Yeah.
No clue.
So, because that's the thing that we have to talk about, too. Every single time any of these events, however big or small, they will have different rule sets with the TOs, if they're doing with terrain, maybe they do different missions. It might be the missions, too. Maybe the missions that they're doing for the combination of missions with the primaries, and if they do, like, the secondary stuff in there, too, maybe the players are kind of like, hey, Eldari don't work with this. Like, there's a lot of different factors that we just don't know about. That's the thing that is
you hit on
good
a great
about
point.
This.
Yeah, you actually hit on a great point there with the fact that they're maybe not randomizing the missions. They may have decided that XYZ missions are going to happen here, and that could also, of course, influence what people take.
Absolutely right. In saying that, is there anything else on the podium that we think actually is a decent spoiler to Eldari?
What is a spoiler to Eldari right now? Like in
I'm not
general,
sure. I'm actually not sure there's a meta counter, but there are things that get closer than others. I actually think Tyranids, maybe you'll echo this, Dustin, Tyranids are one of the armies that can score very well whilst still maybe getting
if it's the right Tyranid
Eldari.
build, absolutely. Yes.
What are some of those standout units for a Tyranid list?
Standout units against Eldar, to be honest, right now in the current meta are Mass Gaunt Carpet.
Yeah, it's just more.
It's just more because
insert GIF.
The Eldar do actually have trouble getting through some of the Gaunt Carpet lists, and the Tyranids can still score their points of secondaries with Biovores or whatever else they need to. So really bringing 120 Gaunts with Venom Thropes and 1 unit of Zone Thropes, so they're -1 to hit with a 6-up invuln, and those Gaunts will win you primary, while everything else, the rest of your list, which is still over 1,000 points, is going to help you win the rest of the game.
That's a great point. So maybe again, Nids seeing some representation here. Custodes there, and just a huge force though. I mean, what % of the field is the Custodes?
8 out of 48. Oh, geez.
Well, I mean, that's
almost 16%.
7%.
16. That's like 16%.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Ooh, sorry. Double what I said.
It's a lot.
So terrain layouts will emulate those as described in Leviathan Tournament Companion. Terrain will utilize the latest definitions and rules by GW. Treat objective markers as flat. Objective markers don't impede movement. Line of sight blocking.
There we go. We talked long enough for Adam to find the
Yes,
term.
we did.
I did. I went
Long
hard on the
enough.
players pack, boys. But yeah, it looks like they're using GW terrain or GW format.
Same
Which is
measure.
fair
There we
enough.
go.
Which would usually mean you would want more towering.
Yes.
Usually you want more towering, but this is way less than usual. So which is good. That means people are like either have less Eldar in their meta in general, or they're making a concerted decision to play a little bit more of a more balanced game.
And we pulled out a couple of interesting lists from the field here.
We have indeed, mate. Perfect segue. Well
Ooh,
done.
that was good.
Jumping in, first up, we have Colton Havens. Now, the reason I pulled this one out is because the first time in a long time we have looked at a Leagues of Votann list, and because I believe this is a little bit more of probably a more forgiving meta for Votann than elsewhere. I mean, I think they just go second versus Eldar on any table in the world, and probably their win rate drops to like 15%. But we have an Oathbound detachment here with an Ironheart Champion, a Grimnir, 2 Karls, 2x10 Warriors, 3 Thunderkin, 5/5/10 Hearthguard, 2/3 Pioneers, a Landfort, and some Sagittars. So this is still working on what I believe is the primary core of the list, and that is the Hearthguard units. I think it's pretty much agreed that they are the best thing in the army at the moment. Like the best. Sorry, I'm not saying the best thing. Full stop. Probably the best data sheet by itself.
Mhm.
Self-contained, doesn't need many buffs, doesn't need much help. It's just good enough as it is. I think they're 33 points a model, and I think they're legit. They're absolutely legit.
Okay. I mean, they do need something, and every single Votann list that I've seen that is done decently well has had at least 20 Hearthguard, at least.
That's what I've seen as well. They look like they have a minimum of 20. It's 3 units, just depending on what sizes.
Yeah.
Everyone still takes 1 Landfort, which I found is interesting. I'm waiting for the day when everyone's just like, our vehicles aren't as good as everyone else's vehicles, so let's ditch them. Maybe the Sagittars still make it, but let's ditch our battle tank equivalents. Let's just take more guys. Let's just take more stunty boys to go sit objectives.
I think, and let me weigh a little like reality, like real world stuff into this, is that I think Sagittars are kind of hard to find in the shops right now.
That's a very real thing, isn't it? That's a very real thing.
So you're saying if I tried to sell them on the 9 I have right now, I'd get some good dough for it?
You might be able to get a good flip on it. I mean, I don't know that to be the case. I don't even know I don't know if they're in stock at the moment right now. I just know that very recently they were hard to find.
Yeah, I've heard that as well, and I've heard that for various other units. So, in saying that, what's your read on how strong the Votann index is, boys? Have you played with it or against it at all? Because I haven't really had much of a read on them, apart from hearing from Votann players that it's not in a great place. Mind you, when saying it's not in a great place compared to where they were last edition, not sure that holds up.
Yeah.
I have not seen them played effectively, and their win rates also kind of, what we look at as far as the stats goes, does seem to be a little poor right now compared to some of the other factions. But that also, to your point, that might be one of those things where people are holding on to the older builds and are have not quite gone into the tank to figure out what the new combination is. But it also could be exactly, they just kind of show up with their models on the table and don't have the endurance to hang out with what else is out there right now. They have a threshold, like they're when they're going to take their first loss is sooner than other factions take their first loss in an event.
Exactly. That is pretty much where they're at, I believe. I do think the Sagittars are quite good. Do they still come as a unit of 2? No, they come as a single now. Yeah, 1 Sagittar in the unit. So that is different from previous.
Well, I thought they always came as 1, but you just got the option of splitting up a unit into the 2 Sagittars, and so you needed them both. Is that? Am I remember?
Oh no, I thought they came as a double.
I thought they came as a double,
and then you deployed them as 1, and they split off after that.
There we go.
Yeah. But now you buy them as a single. So that means you can only have 3.
Yep. Well, I guess I am selling 6 of them. There you go, guys.
Hit me up. And yeah, I just looked on the web store, the Games Workshop web store, and Sagittar are currently sold out.
Yeah.
They are dedicated transports. Apologies, so you can have 6. So sell 3 of them.
Oh, okay.
Dustin.
Sell 3 of them. Okay.
There you go.
All right.
There you go.
might
As
need
far as
3.
it goes, as far as this goes, apart from the land fort, which might be a holdover from the previous edition, I think this is a pretty decent list. I'd love to see the land fort go away and those points be redistributed into more things that are going to score points, play on the board. Because unfortunately, I'm of the opinion that Votann aren't in a position to be like a significant damage dealing army. They're kind of in a position where they need to play like Marines, have 1, 2, maybe 3 alpha units, and the rest just needs to be kind of nonsense to make sure they get a good score.
And you think the Hearthguard there are the ones that are okay.
Hearthguard and the Thunderkin, I think, do a much better job of actually dealing damage to their opponent. As for the land fort, which you have to put in reserve for it not to get blown up versus a Wraith Knight turn 1, for example. The other guys, start on the table, start in deep strike, etc., and get a lot more mileage, and are able to play the game for a little bit longer, I think, than the land fort. The land fort's just like, did I go first and it did something, or I went second and it got deaded.
Here we go.
Yeah,
what's next?
Sorry, my dog's going ballistic. Next up is Michael Fielding, playing Adeptus Astartes. He's got Black Templars. Because why don't you guys read out this list for me while I go see what's up there?
You're a Space Marine player, Paul. Go ahead.
Here we go. We got an Ancient and Terminator armor that is the banner bearer. Judicar, the Primaris Captain. 2 Gladiator Lancers. Repulsor Executioner, 2x3 Blade Guard, a Drop Pod, 2x5 Sniper Scouts, 10 Assault Terminators, a Whirlwind, a Calidus Assassin, and then 2 5-person Exaction Squads. Exaction Squads making their way into all, basically every Imperium list that we've seen recently, and then that Assassin doing so much work there, as the basically being brought to add 1 CP as a tax. At some point you're thinking, i.e. Phantasm or something like that.
Oh yeah, Phantasm is a good one to use it on. I think every faction has at least one strat that you want to use it on, and if they don't, Overwatch is never the wrong choice. Unless they're playing World Eaters, I guess.
Good call. Good
So
call.
I am back from my adventures. It's legit. Like, my dog goes off like once a month, and it just so happens to be twice on like these shows.
Look, you can tell we're on air. Just want to be part of the show. Who doesn't want to be hanging out with us and be a part of the show?
It's true.
I love this list. I like this list a lot. It's got a lot of what I like about Marines at the moment. I love Lancers. A single Repulsor Executioner feels pretty good, but I think it comes into the same problems as I was talking about with the Land Forts in some matchups. But you have enough other stuff going on. Also, the 10 Assault Terminators with the Ancient for the 5-up Feel No Pain. That's a unit. That is a legitimate unit. That is a player in the game at the top level. I think it's a really cool combination there.
Just as to sit in the middle of the field and be able to pivot to every secondary you might flip.
Yep, exactly right. Dominate the center objectives, and then you play the other stuff with your peripheries, your lone operative units, your 2x3 Blade Guard. I'm actually coming around to 2x3 Blade Guard. But the question I have for you boys, what's in the drop pod?
That's actually a question in the chat too. Is like, since basically not charging out of it here.
The first time I typed out this list, I thought I'd misheard the drop pod in there, because it didn't make sense. Is there another unit that I missed? What is this drop pod for?
It's just one drop pod.
It's just a drop pod, yeah. I had a question. The first thing that came to mind: can the Inquisitorial units go in any transport?
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, can the Exaction Squads go in the drop pod?
I think Michael thinks they can.
I kind of think they can as well.
I don't think he's wrong. He must, because that's the only thing I can think of that can go in there. Because Blade Guard can't go in there, can they?
I think the Blade Guard can.
Can they?
Yeah, any infantry. Any Space Marine infantry. At least
it's not like Primaris can't or anything. Okay, then maybe the Blade Guard. What?
Yeah.
The model, the drop pod. The model has a transport capacity of 10 Adeptus Astartes infantry models.
Yeah.
It cannot transport Jump Pack, Wolfen, Gravis, Centurion, or Terminator models.
Right. Okay. So yeah, the Blade Guard maybe. Or the Exaction Squads, but I think the Blade Guard was not a bad choice.
Exaction Squads, can't go in there.
Oh, they're not Adeptus. That's right. So there you go. So it has
10
to be Blade
Adeptus
Guard.
Astartes infantry
Or
models.
the Sniper Scouts, but that seems weird.
When we need the angles to get that precision on there.
That's true.
I mean,
you could do either or. If he got some characters that he needs to snipe out,
Yep.
then he can bring in the Sniper Scouts to do that.
Blade Guard. I mean, I guess. Although I like them walking on the field, being able to hug terrain and get in places. I
They
think
can
they
hug
do
them
a lot of
wherever
work
they
that
want
way.
to in the drop pod, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Good
mean,
point. Good point.
That's all I can.
Yeah,
It's the only one that really can, aside from the scouts. Actually, that's literally the only thing that can, the Blade Guard or the scouts.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. KR is saying that Inquisitors have the rule to ride in other transports, and
Yeah.
they are not
that's what it is. Okay.
inquisitorial.
There you go. So that was the only real head scratcher here. And I like that little thinking experiment. Maybe it is literally just puts 3 Blade Guard in it and the other 3 go on the repulsor, and he just drives them around, drops that pod onto something of note turn 1, puts the Blade Guard disembarking out of it into a decent ruin, and, doesn't have to push up the Terminators that fast that game.
I mean, really, it's a really good turn 1 scoring unit.
Exactly right. Yeah, spot on. And it's a self-contained behind enemy lines as well, if you pulled that card early.
Nobody wants to be spending time killing a drop pod.
Nobody wants to do
When you
that.
got 2 Gladiators and a Repulsor
The
Executioner.
other thing, too, is you don't really need to worry about a lot of CC using it to hide from shooting anymore, because that's, well, nobody's
Not a
taking
thing.
it. Not a thing.
Yeah, not a thing.
Not a thing.
Now's the time when we pick a winner. We can either pick a player that will, by proxy pick their faction, or we pick a faction to see who is going to win this thing. We actually we keep a running total of who's predicts the most correct answers here over the course of a month.
We're gonna we'll have a double episode this week coming reviewing, because I got home from WTC last week and I was a bit wrecked, so we didn't manage to do the part 2. But this week coming, we'll be doing the wrap up for this week and last week, and of course we're still gonna have that running total. And you can grab that part 2 over on the Patreon, which is Warhammer Meta Chasers. You should join us there. That is from our 2nd tier and upwards. All right, boys.
Any tier's a good tier, but the 2nd tier and upward get you some other perks.
Get you the good stuff. I'm going to pick Crons for this one. Who wants to jump in?
It's hard for me not to go with Custodes just with how many there are.
That is pretty fair.
And they're also strong. I mean, look, there's a couple different ways to build the Custodes, but they really play well into almost any army out there. Like I'm surprised they aren't even just continuing to do better. Although especially if they're trying to run the terrain like we heard they were just trying to do. So
I am going to go with Tyranids because they outnumber GSE, so they must know something.
They must. All right, that'll wrap us up for the Wasteland Wars, where you can find Joe doing his delightful coverage this weekend. What is the next one, gents?
Next one we're doing here is the All-Star Heat 4 from Kirkby in Ashfield, England, the UK. All Starts. I did say stars. I can go All Starts.
No, it's stars.
It's All Stars.
Well, I read what is there.
Read what's on the prompter.
Yeah, it is All Stars. This is one of Hellstorm.
My brain tried to help.
Yeah, this is one of Hellstorm Wargaming's series of events. So this is their 4th of the year, and this is a pretty good snapshot of the meta as it stands right now.
50 players, 5-round event. What are we going to see there?
We are going to be seeing Imperial Superfaction. There are 3 Custodes, 1 AdMech, 3 Astra Militarum, and 3 Imperial Knights. Space Marines, there's a Land Fortress. What? Read what's on the
I don't
prompter.
know what happened there. That's just the header.
Just a Land Fortress faction. All right. 3 Astartes, 1 Dark Angel, 1 Death Watch.
What is going on with production? Like, we normally have just such a crack team of researchers and compilers and analysts behind the scenes.
It's the stupid freaking header in the goddamn Word document.
They do great.
To be a jerk.
But they've really fallen off this week.
It's true.
The production team, they're friggin' they're thrashing and in the background just scrambling.
Where was I? Oh, Chaos. 2 Chaos Space Marines, 4 T-Suns, 1 Death Guard, 2 World Eaters, 3 Demons, and 4 Chaos Knights. Xenos, there's 1 Necron. That's it. Okay. Hive Mind, there's 3 Tyranids, and that's it. Eldari, there's 3 Drukhari and 10 Eldari. Ugh, yeah, there it is. Which means the faction podium is Eldari.
Somebody's
first
trying to win.
10 people are trying to win. T-Suns represented with 4 in second, and then 7 factions are on 3. So aside from the Eldari, this is incredible.
We cannot have nice things in Kirkby this weekend because Eldari decided. So if anybody has a bad time, just know 10 people out of 50 made a choice. And we cannot besmirch them for that choice. It's either, sometimes if you want to beat him, you got to join him. And the first list we have to break down is going to exemplify everything that I dislike about the state of the game at the moment. But
of course,
there are some nice numbers here. I love the spread. Apart from Eldar, this spread is
yeah,
gorgeous.
that's what I mean. Aside from Eldar, this spread is incredible. It's actually like a perfect way to go into a tournament because you're not likely to play the same thing twice. Again, aside from Eldari.
Mm-hmm. Spot on. I mean, even if you're an Eldari player, if you're winning this thing 2 to 3 times this event, you may be playing Eldar.
Yeah. So I mean, you better be teching for the mirror match, I guess.
Every single player that comes to an event should have an Eldari strategy. I mean,
absolutely.
That's just it.
Yeah.
Or be comfortable with whatever the outcome is going to be. But if you're planning on playing on the competitive side of things, you got to have an Eldari strategy.
Also, chat, the fact that you think I look more like Lex Luthor makes me extremely happy because I identify with him very much. So thank you for that. That actually makes me feel good.
Beautiful. So you're absolutely right, Paul. Even if you're playing a faction that doesn't have a way to beat Eldar, you should have a way to maximize your score in a loss. You should just have a way a way to get the most possible points you can whilst getting done over.
I love the way you said that too. And we actually talked about that recently on another podcast, which is cool. Like how to play and take into something where you feel like you're outlisted.
Yeah, or just out rules. Like unfortunately, like you look at what the core rules of indexes, and you compare and contrast. Well, Eldari just get to not play a dice game once per turn, just like the dice cease to be. These aren't the droids you're looking for. And then you look at Chaos Knights, where you're like, this doesn't become a thing until turn 3. These are not created equal, and so people can just feel like they are out rules, or they're out listed, or they're out dev wounds. And this brings us to the first list, and this exemplifies what is wrong with Eldari players out there. This gentleman's name is Josh Roberts. He's playing Eldari. He's got a battle host attachment, and he gets points from me for playing 2 avatars. He's got the Avatar Arcane and the Yinkan. Then he's got a Farseer Skyrunner, Autarch Wayleaper, 3 units of 5 Shadow Spectres, and then he lost both points he got from having 2 avatars, and then several hundred others for taking 2 Wraith Knights, and that's his list. And Josh, get help. You make me sick.
Yep. Get help.
I do love the double avatars.
I love the double avatar. I do love that.
Me too. And yeah, I'm throwing a bit of shade at Josh, but this is what is rough out there in the meta for those people just like rocking up, hoping to have a couple of games, and then you got this turn 1. You're like, at least I'll be at the bar quickly for when it opens, because if you go second versus this list, oh my god, rough.
Yeah, it might be one of those situations where you go second, all right, good game, we're going to the bar, and you're buying.
Correct. I mean, I see, dude. I actually freaking love what the Avatar Arcane is in this list. The Avatar Arcane is your unit of Wraith Guard. He's just like, I'm bully in the middle. Here's a Wraith Knight on this side of the table and a Wraith Knight on this side of my limit zone. And here's the Avatar. Like, you cannot put anything into this guy, because if you do, these 2 will table you. And then, can you actually even shoot a bolt gun at this guy? Because Yinkan just spawned in your deployment zone. Like, it's really funny how they all kind of work together. But it's absolutely disgusting.
I just love the model. Like, I love the model.
I don't mind this list.
I mind it greatly, but it's a good list.
I love the big models on the table. Like, it's cool. Some of the best thing to look at. But what's next, though? We already know what those models do.
Exactly right.
What did Alex Fowler here with Thousand Suns? That might be a little bit more of a mystery.
This is a lovely list. I like this list a lot. This is what I think of as a quintessential good, well-rounded T-Suns list. It could be better in some ways, worse in some ways, but I like this one a lot. He's got Ahriman on disc, as well as an Exhausted Sorcerer on disc, the kind of ubiquitous Infernal Master, who I believe has the Vortex, a Sorcerer in Terminator armor, and Magnus. Then he has 3 units of Rubrics, 2x5, 1x10, 10 Zangors, which I'm not quite sure what they're doing here. It's kind of the first time I've seen them, but they might be Alex's own little personal wrinkle. A single Vortex Beast.
I've been seeing more of them come into play.
I've been seeing 30 of them in some lists lately.
Yeah.
Yeah. Single Vortex Beast, the 10 Scarab Occult Terminators, 3 Zangor Enlightened, and the Changeling, because a little bit of lone op is just very powerful. But this seems pretty like quintessential. Like probably about 70% of this you could chuck into any T-Suns list in the world, and it would be a good place to start for somebody.
Yeah, no, I actually like this a lot. I think we talked about this in a previous episode, but is Magnus an auto include for Thousand Suns right now?
I think he's close to. I think he
he's
allows
like,
you to play.
Yeah, he's like very, very. If you don't take him, it's like, okay, I can get that, but I think you should. I think
you should. I mean, so the only question is, does Magnus get you closer to your two problem matchups, the GSC and the Eldar? Does Magnus allow you to get closer, or is he further away? What do you think?
He is a little bit closer because one, he can actually eat a lot of the damage.
Correct. Yeah.
Eat a lot of it. He also is a force multiplier too. And then Vortex Beast is actually good into like the GSC matchup too, because it does have a flamer weapon on it as well.
Yeah, I really like the single Vortex Beast because you just chuck it in the middle or work it up on the side, and it becomes a really good way of just annoying anybody coming to account for it via a pretty good Overwatch. The Scarab Occult is something that I'm trying to figure out if they're sticking around. I've seen a couple of lists, especially the WTC, which I guess was a bit more of a focused meta, but they are skewed for more rubrics and more bits and pieces, more enlightened. Sometimes it was spawn, and then they doubled and tripled down on their sorcerers, exalted sorcerers, infernal masters even. So it was kind of spicy to see that take on things. But this is pretty much where I see most of the best of T-Suns at the moment.
Yeah, the only thing that I would probably change, not saying that's bad, I'm just saying personally, is the Zangors, the Scarabs, probably just for more rubrics, maybe some more characters, but that's it.
The Zangors, for those 10 Zangors, are 65 points.
Then, 65-point action monkeys, that's great.
They can also get you a Cabal point if they're on an objective. Well, it takes a roll, but they can get you an extra Cabal point.
That's never bad. For 65 points, okay.
Yeah, for 65 points, I like them a lot.
I'm down.
Yeah, I think that's cool.
OC2 each?
Yeah, that's also quite nice. I mean the rubrics are the rubrics as well? I think they are.
They're not 65 points.
Yes, they are not 65 points.
Per unit of 10.
Yeah. No, I like him. And then, of course, the Changeling, he just sits on a back objective as well, or something off to the side, which you can reinforce easily. I like this list a lot. I think it's well constructed.
Changeling being in there to blank your opponent's when you're shooting attacks. It's like a demon ally. We see that come in there a lot, and I think it's what we. There's a role, but I can't remember what it is. But it's either the unit can't. There's a potential the unit can't shoot at all, or it shoots worse.
If you roll a 6, I think it can't shoot you, or if it fails a battle shock, yeah, as well.
I think it's probably
either way, it's lone operative, so it's always going to be good for that, regardless.
Did you know that GSC have a model that can make something not shoot on a 6?
Is that the guy with the little DJ booth he brings around with him?
No, it's the Magus, the spellcaster.
Really?
Yeah.
Doesn't even touch the sides in that book.
Nope. Not even.
Yeah.
It's either -1 to hit, or a 2 to 5 it's -1 to hit, or on a 6 it can't shoot. But
that's the same thing. Chaos Space Marines over there hanging on to every little scrap they can get. GSD's like, we got that ability.
We got that. We don't need it. We ain't need that.
We'll dust it off one day, but we don't need it. Picking some winners here. There are some good, healthy numbers.
And if you are just tuning in, we don't pick Eldari on purpose.
No,
yes.
No.
So we have banned Eldari from our choices of what we think is winning the list, so they don't count.
Exactly right. Eldari. So I can't remember if someone anecdotally said to me that Eldari have already won as many GT level events in 10th edition as Drukhari did in all of 9th edition.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true. It could have been anecdotal because I haven't seen any stats related to that. But even if they're close, it's pretty disgusting.
Yeah.
But yeah, no Eldari picks. Who wants to go first?
I haven't made a choice yet.
Yeah, neither have I.
Me either. I'm just going to be pulling out of the proverbial.
I'm going to go with Chaos Space Marines.
Ooh.
Nice. I think that's wrong
Chaos
choices.
Space Marines have got some options, and I think that there's plenty of. I don't say it's untapped. People have kind of figured out what it is, but I think there may have been a little bit of hobby lag, and now we're going to see like the right number of Terminators and Forge Fiends and stuff on the table.
I'm going to go Chaos Knights. Just cause.
Okay, just cause. All right, good reason. I'm gonna go. Well, you know what? Let's keep it All chaos. I'm gonna go T-Sens.
Nice. I do love how we all, well, except for Dustin just then. Yeah, you messed it up. I was gonna be like, we're all gonna go obscure like middling factions because the podium could very well be 1, 2, 3 Eldari, and it doesn't matter.
It really doesn't matter.
It's really fair.
We have one more tournament to talk about, and after that tournament, we have a segment we call the Fuego Rapido, which is because sometimes has nothing to do with Warhammer 40,000, a little bit of palate cleanser at the end of what might be a crunchy segment where we talked about all numbers and stats and win rates and everything else. But this is also this is the segment of the show where we would maybe welcome a sponsor. But in light of that, we're gonna sponsor ourselves.
That is right, mate. So we have a beautiful Patreon on the go, which is getting more and more love as we regularly post and build upon it, which you can go find at the Warhammer Meta Chasers over on Patreon. There should be links and stuffs all over your freaking screen if you would so like to support us. We have 3 beautiful tiers. The first one just chucking us a couple of bucks because you like what we do. Second one gets you access to the show notes from the event, the events that we cover, so you can track how the stats were, what we picked, what not, and then also the juicy part 2 that we record every week with a minimum of 2 of the hosts on board. We break down what the top 10 breakdown was for the events that we covered, and then we pick out one of the notable lists therein to break down for you. So we do that for every event that we cover over on the part 2. And then if you want to go to the top freaking tier and from the top rope drop a people's elbow on us and pick and decide what we do for the Fuego section of this event, or sorry, for the episodes, you can as well. You can send in questions, send in topics. We will build it around it. We will service that part of our patron to the nth degree. So please jump over and support us. I say this every week. It is not an insignificant amount of work to put this show together every week. I do 3 podcasts a week, and this show is as much as the other 2 put together times 2. And I know it's the same for the other 2 gentlemen who I'm lucky enough to be doing this with.
We really appreciate it. Consider checking it out. There are no bad tiers. Come support us if that you are so called to do so or unable to do so. We love doing it, and that makes it a little bit easier. The next event we're going to be talking about is Carnage at the Kasi from the Upper Hutt, North Island, New Zealand.
Yep, I had to double check and triple check. That's what it was called. There's a town just like down the river called Lower Hutt, which I just thought was the funniest thing. I want to know why it's called the Kosi. I don't know. I don't know why it's called.
I want to know what's called the Hut and what came first.
Jabba
or this?
Wow.
The Kosi or the Hut. I thought this was where you were going.
I think New Zealand was before Star Wars.
Are you sure? It was a long time ago, mate.
That's true.
Yeah.
Actually,
in a galaxy far, far away.
You know what? We have no real way of knowing, do we?
There's no way to find this out.
Yeah.
But it's 50 players, 5 rounds. Let's see what we're going to see there.
For the Imperial Super Faction, we're going to see our first Sisters of Battle this weekend. 6 Custodes, 1 Astra Militarum, 2 Grey Knights, and 2 Imperial Knights. Space Marines, there's 5 Astartes, 1 Dark Angel, 3 Space Wolves, and 1 Blood Angel. Chaos, there's 3 Chaos Space Marines, 2 T-Suns, 1 World Eater, and 3 Demons. Xenos, there's 4 Necrons, 1 Orc, 1 Tau. Hivemind, there's 4 Tyranids and 2 Genes to the cult. And then Eldari, of course, have 7 Eldari and nothing else. The faction podium being Eldari topping it off with 7. Custodes close behind with 6, and then Adeptus Astartes behind them with 5. So again, aside from Eldari, the spread is actually really good.
It is not too bad. I do at least like we have a step down effect rather than a cliff from number 1 to number 2, which in our previous 2 events, I mean, we had 8 Custodies, then a freaking cliff, and then we had 10 Eldari, and then a big old cliff. So at least this is a little bit of a step down in numbers on our podium. The rest of it's pretty explosive. Like, I mean, stepping down from the 5 slot, we go straight into Tyranids and Necrons at 4. So this is it's pretty healthy spread. I mean, it's a lot of very strong factions, though. I'm
actually really I need to ask you guys and the chat specifically, too. Why have GSC suddenly dropped off? Like, do people think they're not good anymore? Is it time that I can start playing them again?
So, yeah, so... Legitimately, could be flash in the pan stuff. No, I actually think they're kind of boring. As soon as the Jackals got hit, people were just like, "Oh, it's just kind of playing Neos and Akos, and Akos. It's just kind of the same thing, the same 2 units. You can put in Aberrants in there as well, but I actually don't love the Aberrants as much as just. I think the better choice is just more Neophytes and Acolytes, and I think the player base is just not willing to do that. They're just like."
Get
boring.
off
again,
my
I've
faction, Galadia.
I've got to bring some cold hard reality into this. I think we're in a period of time in the game where people are like, yeah, we'll relax the hobby requirement, and now the hobby requirement's coming back, and people are like, I gotta paint all that. I gotta paint all that.
I have to paint 160 models? Nope.
Yeah, exactly right. And I mean, it's one thing of note, yeah, that right now both GSC and Tyranids play a similar game with a lot of infantry. But it's amusing to see how much easier it is to paint the same amount of Tyranid models as GSC models. The GSC models need so many more colors. Tyranids you can be done with like I spray painted one color and then I paint the carapace and I wash. Done
Hey,
model.
don't tell everybody my secret on how I paint Tyranids.
but fair. That's exactly right. The hobby requirements for a GSC army are astronomical in the current meta.
Tell me about it. Unless you already have all the stuff from editions ago.
But they have gone through what an FAQ. So I mean, is that been enough to push some players off?
I think the changes to the FAQ, like it didn't nerf them enough at all, really. So I mean, the only thing that could really push players off that aren't like hardcore GSC fans at this point are points increases, which I'm sure are coming. I
think they have to. I would like. I mean, if there was ever a piece of war gear that should cost points, the freaking demo charge. My God.
Hey, if it's costing points again, you got to make it not once a game or at least respawn. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down with that. I mean, make them cost 250 points and let's go. Let's go.
Wow.
We can't get too deep into the speculation because we don't know what's happening with any of that kind of stuff. But it is one of those things to where we saw what was a real breakout faction of people being a tournament consideration, and now we've seen like the players have maybe receded. And I think maybe a combination of everything that we're talking about here. Because they play decently well in the Eldari, but the Eldari typically seem to get the upper hand on GCler cults, like they do other factions.
Yeah, well. It's how well they use the Phantasm. I find like the GSC players, I think, struggle to play into Phantasm a lot. That's what I see them struggle against the most. But it might just be time. Maybe the old war dogs of GSC need to come back now and show it how it's done. I'm okay with it. And
one of the big issues though is that Eldari have. Because they are so good into the field innately, they're able to tech a lot of their pieces to be better into GSC, into like their only true competitor. And that's why we're seeing, I think, a takeover of Shadow Spectres above and beyond Warp Spiders.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. Because they do what Warp Spiders do, but they also are anti-GSC and
exactly. I mean,
orcs the same way. Like they're good against a lot of stuff, but their Overwatch is devastating.
Exactly right. All right. So there are a bunch of really strong New Zealand players coming from this event, all the Kraken GT boys, all the Kraken gaming boys, a lot of my mates, and they're all freaking playing Eldar because they're boring, and therefore I'm covering Michael Taylor's lovely list, which is Adeptus Custodes, because every week we're not going to go through exhaustive variants on the top list, but we do like to give you guys an example of what the top lists look like. So this is what I like to think is one of the best Custodes lists going around at the moment. And I really like this list. It's not surprising. There's nothing shocking here. It's just straight up and down, does it well. It's got a shield host, single blade champ, a single shield captain and Trajan, a big block and a little block of Custodian Guard, that being a 10-man and a 4-man, 5 prosecutors, 2x2 Alaris, which for me are the key for this being a level above, 2x6 wardens, a Calidus assassin, and 5 exaction dudes. This I love. So he sacrificed essentially 6 Custodian Guard to get the 2x2 Alaris. And I think that is what makes this a one level better than other such contemporaries. What do you guys think?
Their wound profile, what do you like about the Alaris?
The deep strike, the wound profile, the fact that they're a small footprint unit, so they're much better for things like behind enemy lines, for scramblers, stuff like that. You put them on a backfield to hold your backfield objective against things like Night Spinners, against things like Whirlwinds and Desolators, and they just don't care. Whereas if you were to try to hold those backfield objectives with things like Prosecutors, they get exploded instantly, and then you have to turn around a big old fatty brick of Wardens or Custodian Guard to go hold it, whereas Alaris do it sitting on their hands. They've also got those little blast guns, which I actually find are really quite nice into, funnily enough, they're not awful into Necrons, because then you get a little bit of blast to do a little bit of damage before you go for the big nukes. or you go for your big charge to just get the variance a little bit your way, get him down to like 16 out of 20 or 1 or 2 Lich Guard down out of the 10 man, and then your bricks of Wardens and or Custodes can really lift up. Also, I really like them against some of the prolific little nonsense units out there, which we're starting to see a lot more of: the Akos, the Neos, the Termagants, the Hormagaunts, the Gargoyles, etc.
What the heck? You just have so many forces of the hive mind hate going on right now.
Everything on Dustin's shelf. I like
Everything
it 'cause
on
it
my
kills
shelf
everything
right
that Dustin likes.
Actually, Eldar are the ones that are right next to me right now, ironically.
Did I stutter?
I love
Also,
staring
toughness-
steely out at the camera.
their toughness freaking 7. Also, I have to say, toughness 7 is a beautiful breakpoint.
Is there a lot of strength 6 in the game right now?
There is quite a bit, yeah, and there's a lot of strength 6 and strength 7 out of there.
There's actually a lot of strength 12, actually. So that
And
T7.
I was
Yeah.
about to say,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
strength 12 is the other nice little breakpoint.
Okay. Okay. What's the difference between exaction dudes and exaction buddies? Because
They're
earlier...
not. I'm just throwing out different funny words on
Oh,
the shits because I don't. I do what a 5. So should I just write exaction squad and we just assume it's a 5-man, or because you say a 5-man exaction squad I don't like that. I feel sloppy. So, but you say 5 exaction squad. Last week we were like, is that 5 squads of dudes or is that 5 guys? Or is that
okay.
Yeah.
I
So,
get it now. Okay.
Yeah.
I like it.
We're dialing it in.
We're dialing it in.
5 exaction organisms.
That would be what I would say.
The other thing I love about the Custodies is they go back into reserve. That you have the Re-Deep Strike. So that's the once per battle at the end of your opponent's turn. If this unit is not within engagement range of enemy units, remove it from the battlefield, and then enforce some step of your next movement phase. Set up anywhere that's more than 9 inches away from any enemy models. So I like that a lot for the kind of redistribution. Because one of the biggest issues about Custodies is that a lot of the time you can't apply multiple units of pressure. It's usually one unit you have to send out, and that unit has to do the job, or you fail. If that unit doesn't get the job done, cool. We don't have another unit to send. Well, you can send a unit of Wardens and bomb over a unit of Alaris, and then all of a sudden you have a little bit of a double down, a little bit of supporting effect.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
like them.
I get it.
Yeah.
I'm behind you. I'm behind you.
No, custodian players, look out if you're having some trouble. Figuring out what's going on. I think this is a great template to follow.
Yep, I like it a lot. I love this list. All right, next one. Steve freaking Joel.
The legend.
Gents, this is his event. He's the TO, and he's also playing. But he's playing Imperial Knights, so he will be free to help you with your
Yes, he
with
will.
your
He'll be free very quickly.
Yep. And he is playing, like I said, Imperial Knights. He's got his Noble Lance. He's got the 3 bigs, 4 smalls. 3 bigs, 3 smalls effect, actually. But he's also got his extraction dudes. Canis Rex, a Crusader, and a Gallant. Gallant is an interesting choice. A single Helverin, 2 Warglaves, Carlet Assassin, and a 5-man exaction squad. So the Gallant is the weird one. I wonder if this is just a model choice, because I know he's got a bunch of very beautiful, very pretty.
Yeah, I've been following his paint
knights.
jobs and stuff on Instagram. They're awesome.
But what do we think of a Gallant in the current meta at the moment, especially the meta of this event? To me, it just feels like it's the first thing to get blown up by
Can you
the Red
refresh
Cannons.
my memory what the Gallant actually does now? Because I haven't seen 1 in 10, so I don't actually know what it does.
It's the full melee boy.
The full
yeah,
melee,
so
yeah.
well, it's got the martial pride here. Each time a melee attack targets this model, subtract 1 from the hit roll.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the Gallant's duty is the bondsman ability. While this model is affected by this ability, you can re-roll charge rolls made for that model, and each time that model makes a melee attack, you can re-roll the hit roll.
So it's just a big melee boy. Okay. I mean, to be honest, there aren't many things that can stand up to this kind of melee. So
And tank shock, come on, tank shock when you got a
tank
strength 20
shock is
Yeah.
something that people really
Yeah.
need to remember, because I've been tank shocking people with Goliaths, and even that is actually really helpful sometimes.
Well, is this a concession to the custodies, or the little bit of melee meta that might be going on here? We do have healthy custodian numbers in 6, and also, I mean, the Gallant isn't awful versus Marines, because when you have 3 bigs, that's 3 turns of Oath of Moment they have to put
That's
it
true.
on.
That's true.
And I mean, you put the Gallant on the table, the Crusader goes in reserve. First turn, Gallant and Canis Rex. Canis Rex can actually be kind of tilting to take out with his 2 rerolls as well. And then the Crusader pops down, and you start doing the Dakar. So maybe there's
I
more
do
to
like
this than meets the eye.
having 2 gauntlets on the table. That's actually what I ran recently. Was and it was nice to having those string 20s specifically for the tank shocks. Like just roll in there and guarantee your 6 mortals, and get on with your life.
Yep.
I love the mic drop on that. Do your 6
Absolutely.
morals and
I mean,
go on, get on with your life. That's it. That's all there is to it.
I do unfortunately think the Gallant is about to be superseded. It's just how long it takes people to get their lances painted, because that
That's
guy
true,
is a
yeah.
baller.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is-
you don't
that-
have to take a
oof.
Gallant to get that second
Oof.
gauntlet, by the way. I'm just saying that if you were to
But-
have a second gauntlet on there.
Is it just me, or does the Lancer look a little scrawny?
The Lancer?
Yeah, it looks a little like the arms and like it
Well,
just,
it's
seems a little
taller.
scrawny.
It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be the
Yeah.
quick, lithe, leggy version.
Yeah,
of the
I
knight.
get that, but it's just like, does Quick have to be scrawny? Like, aren't you quicker if you have like stronger legs and
Yeah,
stuff? Isn't that
awesome.
how? It's like,
It's
aren't
the size-
athletes working out their legs to run faster?
I love this, Dustin. So you're like, it's as tall as a building, but man,
But man, it misses leg day
just-
every day.
it's just twiggy.
It just missed leg
It's-
day.
What do you say about the Wraith Knight then? This guy.
Oh,
literally
I
just
have a lot to
standing-
say about the
hanging
Wraith
out
Knight,
on hanging out on toothpicks over here.
He's also always putting his chest forward too, like he's some kind of bro.
That's
man.
true.
I don't know.
Yeah. He's trying to puff up.
He's trying to puff up. He's compensating, man. He's like, yeah, I'm tough. You can't kill me, and then he dies.
Thinks he is
He
somebody.
thinks he is somebody.
Man.
I love
In
it.
this field, though, keeping in mind we're not picking Eldari, what do we think's taking it away?
Whew. This is a rough one
I'm
to pick.
I'm going GSC.
Oh,
Whoa.
Paul coming
Whoa.
out from the out of the woodwork from nowhere. I'll go.
I
with
know how
Stones.
hard it is to get all those models down there in that region, and so I think that whoever's got it is either they've done a lot of work to get it there, and I think they're committed to try to come out and pull out a
Yeah,
win in this event.
They didn't play anything else. That's is what you're saying, and you're probably right. We have one world elite player who wants to be spicy. Let's go.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I wish him a great time, but no.
You're picking Nids, Dustin.
I am thinking Nids. Yeah.
All right, that brings us to the end of the event coverage. But
Well,
don't
you
go
didn't pick.
nowhere.
You got to pick.
He did.
I
He
did.
said
I picked
Custodes.
Custodes.
Oh, Custodes. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so that is talking about the end of our events here, but we got that palate cleanser I was talking about. And look, if you made it this far, you probably like the show. Please leave us a like or a comment or subscribe. Or 5-star reviews. Listen to us after the fact on the podcast aggregators. Please leave us those 5-star reviews. We do not have enough 5-star reviews in iTunes. I don't think we have enough in Spotify. You can actually find us now on Apple. I'm sorry, not of course Apple because that's iTunes, but Amazon. With Audible, you can find us
Nice.
anywhere you find podcasts. If you have just discovered us and you made it this far and you haven't already done so, please leave us those 5-star reviews, the comments, and all that kind of stuff. That is how the aggregators know to send other people to come and listen to us and jibber jabber, and may have somebody else cool hang out with on Thursday nights.
Damn straight.
But here we are at the end of the show where we give ourselves a series of topics. We give ourselves 2 minutes to discuss a bit of those topics, and after the end of that 2 minutes, we abandon the topic, never to return to it again. That's not a hard rule, but we try to stick to it as much as we can.
We do.
And so once the clock starts, we get the topics, and then we go.
I think you're going to like the theme of this one, Paul. It's very food related, but it's more like the best way to eat food. Okay? Certain foods.
Oh, here we go.
So let's see how it goes here. I'm curious to see your thoughts on some of these too. Actually, I like these. Number 1, chicken wings, boneless or regular?
Oh, we're gonna get a clock, or do we just now? This is our life now.
This is our life now. we don't talk about anything else now. That's it.
We started halfway through.
Yeah, I'm starting it over just to see me.
Oh, there we go.
Man, I always found boneless just weird. I prefer bone in on my wings.
So I do too, but there's nothing wrong with a boneless wing. I just consider that more like a chicken nugget, and I don't want to make that sound like a judgment because I love chicken nuggets. I will eat a lot of chicken nuggets. If I'm going somewhere though at a restaurant, I'm probably going to get regular wings. Although recently I've been getting them roasted.
Roasted.
Yes,
Ooh,
not fried.
I like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
But I make them. I'm leave them in there 3 times as long. They better come out
You like a crispy.
real charred on the edges. And I actually tell them if they're not charred on the edges, since
them
we've
back.
already had this conversation, please inform them to char them on the edges. I don't care if they've sauced them already. Then bring them back.
I love that. But yeah, I do think bone in is better.
Really? I'm curious about that. Like,
Yeah.
what's better about bone-in? Because a lot of people will argue. I'm seeing a couple of things in the chat saying boneless has more meat, but people maintain that there's more meat on the bone ones.
I enjoy chewing on a bone. Take that.
No, I can't. I can't.
But I gave you guys a layup. Anyway,
I can't.
I
can't
think the bone, just like in a steak, imparts a lot of flavor. Like
That's true.
I mean, I'm more going for the sauce. I'm a texture and the sauce. I love the flavor of the sauce. Typically, the spicier the better. So, are you like a drum or a flats person? If you're looking at bone in, do you care?
I prefer the drum because I don't like. I only prefer boneless because I don't mind bone, but I hate cartilage because it's like tricking me when I'm eating it, thinking that I'm getting a good chunk of meat, and I do not want to eat cartilage.
I see people like with the way they crack a flat and eat it, like, and I'm like, what? Why did you eat that part?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
I'll eat that part all day. I don't care.
All right.
See, and some people do.
If the wing is good enough, I don't mind. I grew up like eating bone marrow and like offal and stuff. The cartilage is no problem.
That's fuego.
There we go.
All right, next up. The best way to eat French fries. We're talking like if you put them with ketchup, like poutine, or the way you would cook them, have stuff with them, what you would do with them. The best way to eat them.
I'm weird. I'm a bit of a purist. I like my chips like crispy as all hell and salted to death. And that is it. That is no sauce, no nothing. Sometimes I like a little bit of vinegar.
Vinegar, yeah.
There we go. We got salt and vinegar there already
nice,
coming out here in the chat. So to me, I do like a very crisp exterior with a pillowy interior, and I know that's kind of hard to do. Look, McDonald's fries are delicious, and if you get a well cooked McDonald's fry, like it's really good. I also like hand cut, like almost like homemade fries. That's got some great memories of eating French fries in my grandmother's house a long time back in the day. Actually hand cook, saw them go from the potato to the plate.
Do you like the old school, like a la carte kind of fries almost? With the skin on the end, even? Like if you
Yeah.
Skin on's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I actually love the ones with the skin on. Like if they're fried properly, they are amazing. It's usually like pubs will have that kind of fry. You know what I mean? I feel like no other place aside from pub food will, like, if it's considered like unclean or unkempt and not
rustic.
Rustic. Yeah, rustic. That's a better word for it. Let's go with rustic.
So at McDonald's, I dip my fries in hot mustard sauce, but everywhere else is just ketchup.
Yeah, I feel like McDonald's fries and in general some fast food places. Actually, no, McDonald's fries are very specific because they're very thin and very salted. You probably love those, Adam, don't you?
I do. They go all right.
They go all right.
See, whatever seasoning they put on KFC fries is delicious, but the actual chips suck. They're usually real soggy and floppy.
Yeah, I can't stand
the
it.
seasoning is
more like
delicious.
potato wedges, though, right?
Exactly
really
right. Yeah, that's right. Because you know why? Because they chuck them straight out of the fry into that little box and they close it, and then they steam in there and go to hell.
Yeah, KR, I have tried the mayo thing too. Like I tried that a couple times. It was good. It was just weird.
Yeah, I don't mind aioli. I like
aioli.
If I'm in the mood for that,
yeah.
When I'm in the mood for that, I want it garlicky as hell. I want to stank out a room.
I love it that you said aioli, like just fancy mayonnaise.
It is. It's just mayonnaise and garlic.
It's garlic mixed with mayo. Sometimes like lemon juice, things like that. I like. I'll usually like it with poutine, just because it doesn't have to even be poutine, but just with gravy. I like gravy on my fries. But I'm also a big fan of straight up salt and vinegar. Salt and a little bit of vinegar. Malt.
We let you go a whole minute and 55 seconds without mentioning poutine.
We did.
I think that's like a record for.
We made it.
Listen,
we did it.
You have me on here. You're gonna have to listen about poutine at some point. All right, next one. Leftover pizza. Is it better cold or reheated?
This is
actually.
I think cold pizza is almost like a different cuisine.
Yeah.
I don't know. Can you call it a cuisine?
It's changed this state of matter.
We're talking about aioli, like.
Okay, well, we got to come up with a better name for cold pizza then.
I just think it's still pizza, but it's a whole different experience than regular pizza. And like you can have pizza the night before, and then cold pizza the next day is a whole different meal experience.
I'm gonna state this answer depends on the cheese content of your pizza. If you have a very cheesy pizza, you reheat the shit out of that.
I guess if you're eating a lot of you
But
don't
do you
eat
heat it
cold
up to like
cheese?
full temp, or do you just take the chill off?
I'd probably heat it up until the cheese becomes not just
Wait,
like.
when you're heating up, are you
a block.
microwaving it or are you actually baking it?
I bake.
Okay, good.
I'll
right.
turn the oven on.
That is the
and
right
I've
answer.
got
Oh,
a,
in
I've
the
got
oven.
a,
Okay.
I've
Not
got
the
a pizza
microwave.
dish.
Not the
No. Those days are long gone. I've leveled up in life, boys.
He has gone past. He's upgraded past the microwave. He's
I
on the
made
oven
it
now.
past the mid-20s. I gave up drinking. We're good. We're
Some
good.
serious fancy up in here.
Yeah, I feel like for this one, I find both of them kind of equal. But it depends on if I'm really hungry, I'll just eat it cold, or if I'm willing to wait for it, then I'll heat it up. So maybe
If
that
I'm
means
gonna
I
heat
prefer the heated up. Maybe that's
If
what
I'm
that
going to
means.
heat up leftover pizza, it will just be to take the chill off. Like if it was in the top part of the fridge and got like too chilly, I don't know, but maybe just like 10 seconds.
You got some frost on your pizza in there. You got to turn
In the
down
microwave.
the level of your refrigerator at that point. But I mean,
We got to crank everything up down here in the south.
that's fair.
I actually have to say, it actually probably depends on how much pizza you got left. If you got three quarters of a pizza, if you got one freaking slice and you're just walking past the fridge and you're like, I could go a snack, you slam that down. You do whatever.
Okay, that's fair. That's fuego. Next one. When eating cereal, should you put the milk in the bowl first or the cereal?
It's got to be cereal. What kind of?
What the
I got to
get
put
this.
cereal in first.
What is it? Why is there some reason to put the milk in first? That
Yeah.
I've never heard of.
I know people do this. Like people actually do this. They'll put the milk in first and the cereal into it. I don't know, but it's about that ratio, right? I'd like to know how much milk do I need to put in to cover the amount of cereal that I thought I needed that morning.
We should like phone a friend on this one. We should go like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and phone Kicker and be like, yo, which one is correct, mate?
That's true.
Mr.
Actually, I want to know what
cereal
Kicker's
connoisseur.
feeling on this are.
Getting somebody to respond in 1 minute and 21 seconds. I don't see
Cereal first. I'm not a psychopath. I don't know what this milk first nonsense is.
Not a psychopath.
It's got to be cereal first.
The cereal floats, doesn't it? It all floats on the milk, and so you don't know how much cereal is in the milk, and like, I don't understand.
You're making a little.
Do you not like your cereal crunchy?
I do. I ate it pretty quick, man.
You know, it's a lot more crunchy when you put it in after the milk is in there.
Apparently, Joel has just informed us Kicker uses yogurt, apparently.
Wow.
So he is absolutely disqualified.
What?
Absolutely disqualified.
I didn't know that like this cereal question was gonna be more like a Rorschach test. You know, it's like
I didn't know I was going to lose respect for a friend over a cereal question.
Look, people like what they like, and that's cool. Like the world is big enough for everybody to like what they like.
I ain't big enough for yogurt on cereal, man.
That's the real message here. But you got to put the cereal in first. You know, like
that's just what you got to do. And Teddy's saying cereal with yogurt is delicious. Okay, well now I have to try it. Wait, you get just regular Greek yogurt, or is it you supposed to have like vanilla? See, now I'm curious.
Oh, fancy. People just can't have regular yogurt. Can't talk about regular yogurt.
What is regular yogurt to you, Paul? Because a lot of people think regular yogurt is like vanilla, you know, like that's regular to them because that's what they.
Well, it was stuff. I mean, I don't know. Actually, I'm not a yogurt person.
We haven't established that yet.
So
all right,
I agree with Joel. Yogurt and granola is fine, but you want to talk Fruit Loops or cornflakes or like anything like that. Captain Crunch with yogurt, it's sacrilege.
Here's a bonus question: do you have a favorite cereal?
Do I have a favorite cereal?
I mean, when I used to eat cereal,
honestly,
I did.
Yeah, it's been so long since I had it. I used to love Frosties. I don't know if you guys know what Frosties is.
I can imagine what it probably is.
It's literally sugar dusted cornflakes. It was
Frosted Flakes.
It was effed, and you get these huge lumps of just icing sugar down the bottom of the bag. And me and my brothers used to freaking actually brawl over who got to finish the packet.
Okay. Mine. I was actually going to say Frosted Flakes, but no, actually it was Honey Nut Cheerios. I really like those.
Cookie Crisp, I think, is my favorite.
Cookie Crisp. They had a.
I don't eat too much of it anymore, but
I didn't know they had one. Okay.
It's the little chocolate chip cookies.
I mean, that's good.
Yeah. Sorry, back on track.
All right. Last but not least, in a cheeseburger, does the cheese go on top of the patty or underneath?
I believe only Paul is qualified to answer this.
Well, it actually, so there is an argument for bottomings.
Bottomings?
On burgers.
That's what they're called,
not just
bottomings?
toppings,
There's a term for it?
On,
but there's not a term for cold
burgers.
pizza.
There is an argument of like how you experience the full bites as you're going through them. So there is an argument for that, and so you can put it on there. But I think cheese pretty much has to be on top of the burger. But I actually don't prefer my cheese to be fully melted on the burger. I like the heat of the burger to melt a little bit of the cheese, and you still get some of that texture of the slice of cheese.
That was a very in-depth answer, Paul. I'm impressed.
Like I said, only Paul is qualified to answer this question. I can have an opinion, but
I'm curious what's your opinion too. Are things backwards in Australia? Do you actually put everything? Do you put the cheese underneath the bun?
When the cheese melts too much, you lose some of the taste and the experience of the cheese, and unless you need that cheese to be part of like what holds part of your burger together, then you probably should melt it the whole way.
Well, wait. Do you put the cheese on the burger while it's like grilling? I'm assuming you're grilling it, I guess. Or frying
sometimes, but yeah, it depends. It depends on what stage the burger is at, or where if I'm like cooking burgers at a large quantity, I will typically not do that. I'll put it on after the fact. But if I'm cooking 1 or 2 burgers, I will cheese them at the time.
So if you put it on the bottom, would you like when you toast the bun? Would you put the cheese on it then?
So when you toast the bun, no, I wouldn't put it on.
This has gone into a whole like deep conversation now.
I would just pull it off, and I may put a layer of mayonnaise on the bun, so when you rest the patty on the bun, the grease from the bun the burger does not seep too much into the bun, so you keep more of a texture, more of substance to your bun, so it's easier to hold on to and eat.
I'm coming to your house for a barbecue, Paul.
Fuego.
That's fuego. That's what I figured out from this.
I can hook a burger up.
Yeah, I can tell.
Any way you want it.
Any way I want it. All right.
You want your cheese on the bottom? Cool.
Can we put some yogurt on it too?
We gotta draw a line somewhere. Anyway, but that's
it. Put beetroot on your burgers. That's the only Australian bit I'll chuck in there. It's delicious.
That's what's the texture of that? Like what experience does that bring to the table?
It brings more earthy and a little bit of sweetness to it.
All right.
It actually works.
That's
really good. I know you guys don't need a lot of lamb over there, but lamb burgers with a bit of beetroot, delicious.
We love lamb.
Oh, that sounds like
I love lamb.
That sounds like an interesting combination. But look, that's our show. If you're brand new here, that segment, as you see, sometimes has very little to do with Warhammer 40,000. And we don't know where it's going to go most of the time, and we didn't know where it was going this time. It's part of the fun, just a little bit to kind of ease into the rest of your evening or the rest of your day. And if you made it this far, we really appreciate it. We'll be back next Thursday, and the Thursday after that, and the Thursday after that, to bring you the biggest and best information on tournaments happening over the weekend. Talk about what the meta is, what it will be, predict a little bit about how to beat it, maybe we're going to see. We like to see these trends. It's been a pleasure. I've had an amazing time hanging out with y'all this evening.
Nova is next weekend. It's going to be a hell of a show.
Yep.
We will see if anybody can topple the Eldari menace, and we'll hopefully be unpacking some of the top players in the world who have not chosen to take Eldari.
Yeah,
and we'll see what they are bringing to contend with this absolute juggernaut of Index 10th edition. Hope you'll join us there. My absolute pleasure, boys.
As always. We'll see you guys next week. It's been a pleasure.
Chat, it's been awesome. Leave some comments. We'll see y'all soon. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.